This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Matchroom's Frank Smith. It's day 2 here in Florida. Frank, firstly, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Went for a run this morning with Eddie, and Tony Sims was leading the way, which is worrying because, not worrying, but he is a fit man, and it made me feel like a lazy boy.
Yeah, I saw a video of yourself and Eddie trying to compare physiques in the gym yesterday, so don't think you want to reflect on that one either. But here we are, press conference day. Just going to get straight into it before we come on to the press conference talk. Obviously, we saw Robert Smith's comments earlier around Conor Benn's return. I was going to get your initial reaction to what he had to say.
Yeah, look, I've never heard Robert Smith or the British Boxing Board of Control so vocal about anything in my time of working in boxing. They don't seem to... I've never known him to do so many interviews. Yet he's on his mate's show on TalkSport with, Jim White's show with Simon Jordan. We all know that him and Simon Jordan share messages about things like when the Robert Helenius stuff happened, which is crazy that the General Secretary and the person leading a sport is talking to journalists like that. But, it's hard because Conor's gone down a process, right? He dealt with the WBC process. Then they said, you've got to deal with the UKAD, British Boxing Board of Control. The British Boxing Board of Control said every case that, in regards to doping in the UK, is handled this route. The NADP, the National Anti-Doping Panel, which essentially are the higher power when it comes to doping in the UK, made a decision, right? He was cleared. His suspension was lifted. They said, no, we're not listening to that, basically. We want to appeal it. Where does this end? There's no appeal date. Where does it stop? So people saying... we haven't done this the right way, we've been slow. He's cleared to box. Even to be cleared to box here, the work we had to go through, to ensure it was done in the right manner, it was stringent, as it should be. But, Robert Smith, this could go on for ages. When does it end? When does it end? Who are you when you say these are the people who decide when it comes to doping, and then you don't want to listen to them, what do we do?
Frank, I have to ask you, with the appeal itself, Robert said that he's obviously appealing it alongside with UKAD, and we're waiting for a date to be provided. Obviously, speaking with yourself or Eddie or Tony Sims, he said that there's kind of been a postponement of that date coming through on the British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD's behalf. From Robert's comments, that doesn't seem to suggest that's the case, but they're waiting for a date to be given to them. What can you tell me about that?
No, it's a postponement from the British Boxing Board of Control. All of these things, they're all delays. So, again, in a young man's career who hasn't boxed in 18 months, you got a man's life in your hands, and he's on there today saying, no, we're ready for the appeal. That's not correct. It's not correct. But like I say, this whole process, the way it's been handled from the British Boxing Board of Control, is unlike anything else they've ever, the way they've handled anything else, is the reality. Over the years I've known of being in boxing. And it's, this particular case, they seem to, treat it differently to anything else.
Frank, obviously the word cleared has been a hot topic throughout this week with Conor's return. I'll only throw you some more quotes of Roberts. He said that he hasn't been cleared yet. A number of issues are still outstanding, which everybody's aware of. We've appealed the decision, and once the appeal has taken place, we'll take it on board from there. But when Eddie says he's cleared his name, according to us, we haven't had an explanation of how the positive test came about, so I don't quite agree with Eddie on that one. Now, just on my own interjection on that, I've asked Eddie about this jurisdiction ruling that people have commented on. He has said that with what he said, taken into consideration, you've refuted any suggestions in the past that it was jurisdiction, but listening to what he's had to say, it would suggest that that might be the case, and that it isn't around any scientific explanation being provided as to why Conor had Clomid in his system.
It wasn't jurisdiction that the case was cleared on. It wasn't jurisdiction that the NADP cleared it. Has there been a scientific following up within this investigation? As with everything, the NADP have come out and said that all fine, everything was confidential from that case. Robert Smith can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. I wasn't involved in it. The NADP have cleared Conor Benn, right? Hence why his suspension was lifted. Not by us, not by Conor Benn. His suspension was lifted because UKAD lost the case and the British Boxing Board of Control. So he was cleared by the NADP, who were put there to make a decision, right? That's their job. So yes, he is cleared. Again, the British Boxing Board of Control, they can do what the board's a limited company. It's not the FA. They're a limited company. Set up you could set up the British Boxing Board of Control tomorrow, and if you create a big enough brand, you could become the British Boxing Board of Control Part 2. They're a limited company, a limited business. So the board can do what they want. They can continuously say, no, we don't approve him. He could be, and I listened to Robert Smith earlier saying, when they said, if he wins the appeal, you're going to let him fight. Well, I'm not going to go. No, the answer should be, yes, we cannot, there is no reason we can stop him from fighting. But again, where does this end? You know? So the British Boxing Board of Control can continuously say, no, do you know what? We don't want you to box. Why is that? No, just we don't want you to box. And then it's restraint of trade. So let's see.
I know there's obviously only so much you can say, and when I ask you about kind of the scientific side of things and whether or not that's being explained, have you guys had proof as to why there was any form of Clomid within Conor's system? Has it been looked into from a scientific standpoint?
On multiple occasions, yes, but I'm not, this is the thing, just like you, me, I'm not an expert when it comes to doping, right? I have no clue about it. So it's not for me to decide, it's not for me to sit there and review these documents. It's specialists who are put in place, firstly by the WBC, right? So in the first instance, he was cleared by specialists whose job it is and work in this field and understand it. I don't know what I'm talking like. I don't know. You don't know. This man on the street doesn't know. Adam Castrol doesn't know. Simon Jordan doesn't know. Robert Smith doesn't even know. That's the reality. Robert Smith doesn't even understand it because it's not what he does. So scientists who are specialists within this field have decided to clear Conor Benn, not me. I don't know, I wouldn't know what I was looking at. So yes, it's been looked at on multiple occasions, but you know, it's just it seems to be a never-ending cycle.
If there is obviously evidence to suggest that Conor is innocent and that he should be proven to be so, why is it that the board are continuing to appeal this ongoing case?
I don't know. They said any doping issues are handled by this body, right? This body made a decision, so and they don't accept it. So which one is it? I don't know why. I can't answer that question. I don't work for the British Boxing Board of Control. So,
have you had any conversations with Robert Smith or anyone from the board this morning on the back of what he's had to say?
No, I have no need to speak to Robert Smith about it. I don't agree with his stance, but I have no need to speak to Robert.
What was interesting as well, just listening to kind of Frank Warren's comments earlier, he's maybe suggested that financially the board might come to a bit of a halt with this case. Do you think that could be an issue for them continuing to pursue this case against Conor? Financially, they may not be able to back themselves the deeper it goes?
I don't know, but it's the same for Conor Benn. Conor Benn's an individual that hasn't boxed for 18 months and has had to defend himself, and spent a lot of money. So, I don't know. That's for them. Look, they're the ones who don't want to listen to the answer they were given by the party that are put there to make the decision. So it's up to them whether, financial. I don't know their financial situation. I couldn't tell you.
Just on Frank's comments, he has slammed, obviously, as you can imagine, Conor's return. He said that it was a bit slimy and unacceptable for him to return on such short notice. I want to get your thoughts on what Frank's had to say.
I mean, look, when we start taking advice from Frank Warren on how to deal with things and, sort of the way to do business, we'll go from there.
Right, Frank, listen, I feel like the press conference is about to start because everybody's crowding around us now. So I appreciate you doing this interview. And I'll catch up with you again tomorrow, I imagine.
Cheers, mate.